Welcome to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks, where women share their dreams, struggles, and successes. How they were able to persevere despite the fear and create the life they want and deserve. If you're looking for inspiration to move you past where you normally would stop, then this is the show for you. Here's your host, Melissa Banks.
Welcome to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. I'm excited you could be with us today. I'm your host, Melissa Banks. Today, we have another amazing woman to share her journey with us and how she was able to keep going despite the circumstances. Today, we have Coretta Frazier. Coretta is the CEO of Professional Management Solutions. Good afternoon, Coretta, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Melissa, and thank you for having me.
Wow, Coretta, I'm excited for our conversation. As I was preparing for your show today, you have a lot going on, and you're very interesting. So I was very intrigued with a whole lot that I was reading. One of the things I wanted to start us off talking about is, some people, they have a desire, where they say they have a desire to start a business. However, they start looking at what's not perfect. I got children, they're young, I want to go back to school. There's so many different things that we give ourselves as excuses not to move forward. And it makes sense to us at the time. However, you weren't that person. That's not what you did. You had a lot of things going on, but in the middle, while you were doing all of those things, you started your recruitment and human resource consulting firm. Tell us about that process and how you were able to do that, even though you had a lot of things going on.
Wow, that's a really good question. And to be honest, you hit the nail on the head when you said, I had a whole bunch of things going on, and you probably didn't even know about the fear factor. That was like one of the biggest things that I had going on, basically because I'm what you consider an introverted person. I just like to get behind the desk and do the work, or do what I'm supposed to do, head down and keep it going versus stepping out of a comfort zone, being front and center, speaking to whoever I needed to speak to get whatever I needed in my possession to open my firm. And so that journey was not an easy one because, like I said, I really had a hard time, opening up my mouth and saying what I needed. It was either, I did some research or I would try to find the answer to it myself versus going to a source that could be already out there or have already done what I've done per se. And so, starting my agency, I was working full time. I had 2 children at the moment. I decided to go back to school, and I just said, I'm going to do it all because I felt, for one, I was a little behind, and that's another thing that we self-sabotage ourselves with, thinking that we're behind and we need to catch up and do all these things. And so me feeling behind motivated me to move forward and move a little faster.
Well, you said a couple of really powerful things. Number one, you talked about the fear. I think, in my mind, that holds most of us back more so than the actual circumstances that we face, because we build up this fear that we're not good enough, we don't have enough, that we have too many other things we have to fix. But we look back on that fear stops us. So that was a big part of what you just said, that even with that fear, even with those feelings that you were behind, you use that fear to push you further, and that's amazing. And that's what Dream by Design is all about, actually, is pushing through those circumstances, pushing through those fears, and continue to move forward. And you were working full-time, 2 children and school, and you were able to do that. So that is a great testament of you and in your mindset, because in my mind, that's where it all began. Also,
yes,
Coretta, though,
amazing.
it's important to you to help people, and one of the ways you're doing that is you started a nonprofit. Why was it important to you to start the nonprofit, and what is it all about?
Wow. So, in every aspect of my being, I feel like, God put me on this earth to be this vessel for him. And so I kind of consider myself that human connector. You've explained to them that I run a staffing and recruitment agency. Well, for me to run that agency and be able to offer my customers experienced or trained employees or staff, there had to be a way for these people that are being hired or transferred to these companies to be trained. And so basically my staffing and recruitment agency works together with that nonprofit to be able to assist with that transition. And, it's really a big gap, and it has been for a long time for employment for a lot of people, and especially in Mississippi. And I just felt like if, I could get out here and be that human connector, I could actually literally bridge that gap. I had one hand over here holding the talent or the people that were scared or the people that didn't know how to go into a job interview, the people that didn't even have the training that they needed because all they've been doing is going to school all these years, or even the people that have been out of the workforce and deciding to go back in. I had them holding them with one hand, and then I'm over here with the other hand holding the employers, the organizations that are saying, I can't find good talent, the organizations that are saying, I'm trying to understand how can I connect with these people that are without jobs. And so I just literally feel like I am the actual bridge for that gap.
Oh, absolutely. And you can actually hear your passion. But what is this work ethic and this go after it? Because you're also running a company, Professional Management Solutions. Now, I know that is a staffing agency, but it's so different from what we normally would term a staffing agency. So tell us about that and where this work ethic comes from as you continue to help people, as you continue to move through life and your goals. You connect the pieces. So all three of these pieces basically connect. Tell us all about the Professional Management Solution and how it fits in with these other things.
Wow. So that's another great question because it started from my mother. So my mother is 14 of 17 children. And so my 94-year-old grandmother, which she'll be 95 in about 2 weeks, like I said, she had a lot of children, 17 of them to be exact. And my mother just had a really heavy drive for, getting kind of out of poverty and kind of doing her best to make sure that her two children had the best that they could have, knowing just the small information that she knew, may not have been college degreed and all that, but she had such a drive to have a better life than for her children than what she had. And so a lot of this aspiration and all of this comes from the determination and the things that I saw in her. Her and my dad divorced when I was probably middle school, and so I watched her day in and day out working multiple jobs and getting multiple opportunities just to provide for myself and my sister. And so I remember when I was maybe about 8th grade, I remember her saying, y'all, I'm going to leave my full-time job, which she worked at a chicken manufacturing plant. And she said, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to run my business full-time one day. And so what happened is she never really got a chance to run her business full-time completely. She still had to stay in the workforce because she needed insurance. She probably didn't even know all the processes of getting insurance if she wasn't working for a company. So she held both down for so many years. And by the time I was about 10th grade, and I think I was probably 11th grade, and my sister was probably 9th grade, we were doing back office work for my mother, and we were doing actual work in the business, which was a janitorial company. So we did work in both aspects of it. And so I think all of my life I've been syringed in hard work, understanding that nothing is given to you. You have to get out and get what it is that you want or need. And between her and my grandmother, they just, pushed myself and my sister to just be the best and do the best no matter what. And always, care about what it is you do. Care about what you look like when you walk out of the house. Care about what you sound like. Care about, just always care about everything that you was involved in. And so while working for my mother all those years, she basically got sick, and I had to work for her full time. Like I was I got married, just had a child, and I think my child was probably 2 years old when my mother got sick, like bedridden sick, and she couldn't do much of anything. And so I had to actually take care of my own 2-year-old child and my husband, help with my grandmother. She was in her 80s then, still take her to the grocery store and different things like that, and help make sure my mom got to her doctor's appointment, and take care of her customers. She had school districts with over 5,000 students and children in it, and since she ran a janitorial business, those organizations had to stay clean and up to par. So since I've been in my 20s, I've been heavy loaded with work like that, and I think I don't know no other way. And so Professional Management Solutions really derived out of her organization. So once she retired and turned her janitorial business into more of a supply rental organization, then basically I picked up that human resource aspect and that staffing, because that's what I did within her organization. I did all the onboarding and the hiring of the new employees and the training, and I found my niche in doing that while going to school. And I mean, after maybe 8 or 10 years, then I started Professional Management Solutions, piggybacking off of what she started and invested in over those years ago.
Wow, that is quite a story, and it's so much in there. And I'm going to try to pull some things out because I don't want our listeners to miss some of those powerful moments that you just shared. First of all, everything wasn't perfect. The fact that everything wasn't perfect didn't stop your mom from being that example. And that example was, if you want something, then you go after it. And I hear entrepreneurs or people who want to start a business often say, when I get to a certain point and I can leave my job, then I'm going to start my business. But you know what? Right, she held on to it for whatever her reasons were, but she held on to it, but she didn't feel like she had to let go of her dream of being a business owner, and she kept pushing through that. And how important is it for us to be an example for our children, and not just our children, but other people who watch as well, because you watched her, you and your sister watched her, and then that's where your determination and the work ethic that you have, you do a lot, and you put on a lot of hats, and I just salute her right here, because she showed you that you work hard, you go for what you want, even if it's not easy. And I think that's what our listeners really have to pick up on. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't a perfect roadmap, but she kept pushing forward. As a result, she has her daughter, you, who has that same ethic to continue to push forward despite the circumstances that you're facing. So that was really huge for you to share right there with us.
Thank you.
If you're just joining us,
it's such a great perspective.
Oh, thank you. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dream by Design with Melissa Banks, and today our guest is Coretta Frazier. Coretta is the CEO of Professional Management Solutions. Okay, Coretta, I was preparing for this, and I came across something I did not know, that you have a show, a virtual roundtable, if you will, called The Real Deal. I absolutely love that name, first of all, and that's what stopped me. I said, The Real Deal? What's that about, right? Well, The Real Deal is about building a legacy. So how did that idea come about, and what is it all about? What do you provide to the people who participate in it?
So The Real Deal was birthed last year when COVID first hit. So I have a lot of people that, reach out to me for resources. I literally consider myself as a resource hub. Somebody say, I'm looking for this, or I need this, or I need that. More than likely, I have the perfect person for them. And so, when COVID hit, our community was getting so many different news avenues, and those things that were coming from the news, some people believed, some they didn't, some scared people. It was just so much noise. And so what I decided to do was use all of my resources, all of these organizations, whether it be mental health professionals, whether it be educators, whether it be other nonprofits that can help in the community, doctors, nurse practitioners, whoever. And I would invite them to the show and have a real conversation. And so my first show was in May, which was exactly what you would call Mental Health Awareness Month. And also May, supposedly last year, things were trying to open back up despite what was really going on with the COVID cases and all of that in Mississippi. So my first round table, I brought on a doctor, which he works in mental health, a nurse practitioner, which is my sister, which had been working in the field and has been in the medical field for 15 years. I brought on a business consultant because people were having all these issues with what they're supposed to do as their employers came back to work. And so the whole purpose of The Real Deal is just a roundtable discussion of pertinent information. And it was there for our listening audience to have factual information from people that, actually look like them. And so, and it has continued on since that day in May of last year.
So it's just another outlet of you sharing yourself, reaching out to people to provide them with something that genuinely would help them move forward and be better in their lives. That's just another example. So The Real Deal is once a month?
Yes, it is. It's the third Monday of every month, and it's Facebook Live. And I really take the time, and I'm very intentional about the guests. They are people that have serviced me, not just somebody I randomly picked up off the street. The mental health physician, he serviced me. The nurse practitioner, that's my sister. We talk daily, but she can't charge me, and I can't, be her patient. But I know her love and her drive and her admiration for the work that she does and the people that she serves. And so all of those people are connected to me in some form or fashion, and I know their work, and it speaks for themselves. And so that's the intentionality that I have when I created The Real Deal, and when I put that information out there and giving it to vulnerable people or people that are scared or people that don't know which way to go or whatever it may be.
Oh, I think that's awesome. Okay, so you mentioned COVID-19. So I would like to take us back to January of 2020 when we were all celebrating an amazing event, room full of excited women moving forward in their careers and getting more excited. And that was the Black Women's Business Expo in January of 2020. I hope you remember that. I definitely remember your face, and I remember you being there that day. But then just a couple of months later, COVID did hit, and then everything changed forever, in my opinion. So how was it for your business when that happened? I mean, I remember talking to you and the excitement you had about your business. So when that happened, how was it for your business, and how were you able to move through those challenges?
Wow, that's another good question. I definitely do remember that event because it was such an amazing event, and it was a platform where you got to celebrate your biggest win or your smallest. It didn't even matter. It was just you being encouraged by someone like you with all of this encouragement and those little clappy hands things, and you just speaking and pouring into the people. It was a really amazing event. Well, as it pertains to COVID, so because I'm a staffing and recruitment agency, well, basically, my profits come from being able to send a talent or an employee to a customer and have them work 30, 60, 90 days. And if they decide that this person is the perfect fit for them, then they'll hire them permanently with their organization. And so because of COVID, things shut down. And so that means no talent needed to be going out of the door. So that slowed down money. But prior to that, it was like, Coretta, even when you start your business, you got to have multiple opportunities within your organization just in case one doesn't work. And so I've always been in that realm or that space. And no matter what I do, you can't just depend on one particular thing. And so with me, I'm so multifaceted. And so when people get me as a consultant, they really don't know what they got until they got it. It's a big jewel, and I'm letting out some secrets here. But because I have that background in janitorial, like I can go out and strip and wax a floor just as well as sit behind my desk and push out invoices or create the next opportunity or make some handbooks or point fingers. I can actually do the white collar and the blue collar work all at the same time or at different times. And so because I had all those things kind of boxed up for me, you know what, janitorial popped back up out of nowhere. Everybody needs disinfecting. Everybody needs cleaning. And so I was able to be consultant for organizations and help them manage and get that under control when it should have already been under control. They just didn't have the proper or the right companies in there helping them and so forth. And so having multiple, multiple aspects of your business will help you in times of trouble, such as COVID or some way where things have to get shut completely down. We've been doing virtual interviews. We've been using Zoom prior to now. We do, even for people that are just looking for jobs or students, we do mock interviews to help them get ready. And so that stuff was already incorporated in what we do. And so we just enhanced it or started doing it more. That's it.
Well, I guess that's a true example of being ready and not having to get ready. And I think COVID-19 and 2020 taught a lot of us the importance of those simple words to already be ready and don't have to get ready. Because those of us that had to get ready, it took us a minute to build back up. It took us a minute to pivot because we had to get ready. But because you had those things already in place, you had something that you could fall back on and you can move your business forward. So that is great. That is great advice right there. So, Coretta, you are a busy woman. You're a busy entrepreneur. You're busy in the community. You're a wife. You're a mother. What do you do when you just need a little bit of encouragement here, a little bit of inspiration there to give you that moment of breath that you need in order to keep pushing forward?
Wow, that's another good question. So, I know we always are talking about, self-care, and self-care means so much. I do work a 4-day work week, meaning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I use Friday, Saturday, Sunday to spend time with my children. Maybe, we play on this little TikTok. I have a 15-year-old and a 9-year-old, and so they're some funny little kids, but they'll say, Mom, get on here and do this with me. That kind of gives me like my relaxation time, and that helps me to like decompress and calm down. I also take the time to, maybe get massages and those different types of things. And then I spend time with other like-minded entrepreneurs. And I don't have a whole bunch of like-minded entrepreneurs, but there's like that one go-to, and we sit down and we talk about things, and we talk about ways to make changes within our organization or changes within ourselves so that we can stay the course or so that we can continue to move forward in what it is that we're doing, because we both have children as well. And so we use that time to conversate. But outside of my family, my children and my husband, and my work, my community efforts, those are the two things that really drive me. And so if I'm not, in my community or doing my work, because I love it so much, it almost makes me sometimes feel like I'm really not working. It just rolls really smooth. And sometimes it does get hard, And sometimes the work get overwhelming. But you know what? I just back up. I use systems, and I schedule things, and I go strictly by my calendar, and I try, because there's been a time where I've been everywhere for everybody, because that's just this was my nature. And then the older I got, the more I started learning that I had to back that up just a little bit, just so that I can have just that little time that you're asking me about for myself. So I don't need a lot for myself, but I do take a good bit just to back off. And that's Fridays for me. My kids are at school, and so I have that whole morning to myself to do the things that I want to do. And if that means, replying back to somebody's email, it must have been something that I really liked or really wanted to engage in. Or if that means just sitting in my little couch by the window and just reading a book or something like that.
And you know what? I agree. It's so important, whatever it is that gives you that moment. And for me, I can take lots of time and go have coffee with my mom, and that refreshes me. Or I can have a conversation with a friend who also is just as busy and running multiple businesses, so we can take a breather and just chit chat. To me, that does so much for my energy level and my spirit. So I agree. I don't have to have a lot, and I don't have children still at home because my children are all gone, but I still need those little blocks of time to give me that, okay, I can move a little further, because I do love what I do. So my personal and my business oftentimes coincide instead of being separate. So I really get that with you. So I wanted to make sure I asked you about specific challenges in your business, so Coretta, that you would say that because you are a female running the business, you have some challenges that you face as a female. Are there any challenges like that? And if so, how do you overcome them?
Wow, yeah, it's always challenges with you. For one, being a female, and sometimes being dominant. When I do go in a room, it's almost like I command it, but then I also at the same time am a humble person. And so it's like some of the challenges that I've had where in this field of work, or going out bidding, or, whatever it is, you're faced with maybe a lot of men or a lot of older females in the industry. And sometimes, they could feel as if you're coming in as a threat or in some manner. And I felt that in some cases in most of the things that I've been doing since I started my business. And, and the only thing that I would always do is, make a person that is around me feel comfortable. And, for some people that's hard to do. Somebody will say, well, I don't have to, make them feel comfortable. I am who I am, but I feel like it makes sense to not come in and make someone feel as a threat, even if you are or not, And so I wouldn't call that a challenge. It's been a challenge because it happens all the time, and I have to kind of just step back and make sure I'm not making anybody feel uncomfortable because of who I am. I can't change who I am and what I know. And so, but I can be humble and listen to whatever that is that person is saying, especially because I'm entering into the room. I need something from them per se, because I'm new. I've been in this thing only, 3 years as far as this industry. And so that has been a challenge. And then as a woman, I wouldn't say, finding funding and that type of stuff, but that is a challenge, I think, across the board for, Black people in general. And so basically I use startup capital from working for a company for 6 years and working 10-hour days, 7 days a week. I forgot to share that. While I worked and was going to school, I was working 10-hour days, 7 days a week, and every dime of that I was basically saving it to be capital for my business, because I saw, the struggles that my mom had as she started her business, and basically her work ethics. And I'm in a professional service, but she was in, janitorial, so she got the business and she had manual labor that would bring in the income for her organization versus her having to go and, borrow money to get it off the ground. And so I would just say those two things, you know, being such a dominant and, you know, intelligent and smart person and knowing what you know, because like it's like nobody can pull a wool over your eyes because you know so much. So that has been, you know, the two challenges that I've had as starting from scratch, you know, ground up.
Well, this has been just an amazing conversation, Coretta. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to let our guests know how they can stay connected with you.
Wow. So, you know, I am all over the social media platforms. What is a business without, you know, marketing? You can find me on Facebook at Coretta Frazier or Professional Management Solutions. You can Google Professional Management Solutions. I'm on Instagram at Professional Management Solutions or Coretta Frazier. I am on Twitter at Coretta Frazier or Professional Management Solutions. LinkedIn, everywhere. And all you have to do is put in either Coretta Frazier or Professional Management Solutions.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you again for being here today, Coretta. And thank you to our audience for tuning in to today's edition of Dream by Design. I'm your host, Melissa Banks, saying all your dreams are possible. Believe in yourself, work hard, and don't quit. Until next time, thank you for choosing Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. Enjoy your day.